Welcome to month 9 of the Lead Dad Diaries with Skip Cherryholmes. I'm your host, Paul Sullivan. It's cold. It gets dark early. There is no vacation in sight, at least for me. But we're here to find some warmth, light, and at least a break from the day to day to reflect on what it's been like for Skip to be a lead dad now for 9 months. Skip, we've developed a great rapport over the past year or so, but I've got to ask you to come clean. Is it true?
Uh-oh.
Is it true you're about to hop on a cruise ship bound for warm weather and getting your band back together to boot?
Yes, it is true. So I've actually been performing on cruises since I was 14. At least one a year. These people will put together events on cruise ships, and I remember the first one I went on was it was a Royal Caribbean ship. I think it was the Liberty of the Seas. And I didn't know such a magnanimous vessel existed. Come to find out, that was one of the smaller ones, and especially coming forward now to 2024, and the icon of the seas is taking its maiden voyage. That's not the ship I'm going on, but I am going on one of the larger ships. It's called the Allure. But I've been performing on these cruises since I was a teenager, and it's really fun to because it's you have designated concerts that you do. So
Uh-huh. Are there
I
other
have
bands
like,
on the ship too? Are there other groups?
yes,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. So sometimes you're with people that you've known in the industry, and it's a good mix of luxury and hanging out with your fans, and it's one of those things where you kind of throw the caution to the wind. So you're sitting there at the breakfast buffet, and somebody comes up and they start talking to you. Oh, I enjoyed your show last night. Blah blah. Hey, sit down, have breakfast. No big deal. Like, let's just make it intimate. Let's make it fun, and that
Yeah.
makes it leaves the patron with a richer experience for sure. Um, but it's not very labor intensive. I think I'll play you know a 40-minute session on the first day, and then I have a day off where I'm not doing anything, and then I'll play about an hour on the third day, and then another hour on the fourth day. Outside of that, my time is my own, my
Wow.
family's. As like,
Are you bringing
that's it.
everybody? Are you bringing
Yeah,
Stephanie and the kids? Everybody
yeah.
goes? Wow.
Everybody's going. So we'll go down there, and we're going down to the Caribbean for a nice quick getaway, but I'll also be able to jam some music and play, and just that was one of the ones that whenever I said, yeah, I'm getting off the road, I'm not playing all these crazy shows, I'm not doing all this stuff, but that was when I said, yeah, we'll we'll keep playing the cruise, because one is tradition,
Yeah.
and two, why wouldn't you? It's a free cruise,
Do you have? But you gotta tell you, come clean now again. Do you have a diva moment? Kind of like the famous like only green M&Ms or something like that. Do you get to do something like that in your
I
contract?
my diva moment is, and this drives my wife crazy. I've been going on these cruises, and for the most part, I think there have only been two cruises that I've taken in my life that no, sorry, three that I've taken in my life that weren't Royal Caribbean. The rest of them have all been Royal Caribbean. So I am one of their rewards members, and I'm like third tier rewards member. So I have these exclusive events in Royal Caribbean. Has nothing to do with music,
Right.
but exclusive events with Royal Caribbean that I am allowed access to that she's not allowed to go to.
Oh no! You wave at her
Like,
from
yeah, I
inside.
do. I do. I put on my double-breasted suit with my nautical, my ascot, and I go in there, and I'm like trying to look the part and all this stuff, and of course I stand out like a sore thumb with the rest of everything that's going on there. But then, I'm like, who cares? I'm having fun. Yeah, this is good. But then she's like, they send you these pins
Yeah.
that are like establish what level of the rewards program you're in.
Uh,
And so I'm like, I always tell her when I'm packing for the cruise, like, got my pins. It drives her nuts. But it is funny because it has nothing to do with
Well,
music
you've
or
been on
anything.
the ships, these ships for so many times, and it just adds up,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it's so much fun.
Man. All right, enough talking about this, or else I'm gonna get jealous. I'm gonna start being like my kids, saying, that isn't fair. Why do you get to go to the Caribbean? My hands are chapped. It's so cold up here.
Well, I
Um,
won't I won't mention the part then that when we get off the ship, we're going to Disney World for 3 days.
it
I'll just
better
leave that
matter.
part out.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, well, don't even talk. Pretend you didn't even say. Pretend you didn't even think that. Okay, because I want you're too nice of a guy. I know what I'm going to ask you next month when we do this. When I say what's been the best part of the past month, you're going to say, Paul, it's my cruise that I was on and you weren't. But for this month, Skip, our first traditional question: what has been the best part of the past month for you as a lead dad?
The best part of the last month, the kind of that defining moment that I was really kind of building myself up into. I've said it for years. It's been really tough since Stephanie and I got married, and especially when we had kids, because as with a lot of other things, the touring life does not mesh well with the holidays. Because even if you're not doing shows, and there have been years where we did a specific like Christmas tour, whereas like you are playing a string of shows, and the predominant portion of your material that you do is holiday, it's got a theme to it, and that actually digs deeper into your time off, so to speak. Um but even without anything like that, if you didn't play another show, a lot of times we would wrap things up first week of December, maybe the second week of December, but then you've got all your business stuff, and then you're doing rehearsals, you're getting ready for the new season, possibly studio time, depending on if you were in the middle of a project or not. There's always been something that has left me feeling like I missed out on the best moments of the holidays. And this year is like that. When I made the decision to get off the road was about a year ago, back in November, and part of that decision was looking at what the holidays were going to look like for me with my family. And also, so when I made that decision, the first thing that came to mind was, I can't wait till next year when I can actually enjoy this time. And boy, did I. Well, I mean, we had so much fun. And my kids are 6 and 2. This is the perfect time to be doing this kind of stuff with doing all the mall shopping, and going and getting pictures with Santa, and all of the baking, and all of the getting together with family when your kids are that age. Aside from some of the well, we'll get into into some of that in a second, but the the overall of just sitting there and absorbing, and especially those 2 weeks leading into the into Christmas, and then also into the new year. I was legit off, like didn't have any work to do. I did some stuff, especially with the dads, to catch up, because I knew that the new year was going to be really busy. But that was at my leisure, when I felt like it was appropriate to, and the kids go down, they go to sleep, and I can sit down and get some stuff done. But there wasn't a lot of pressure on that. So I was just really thankful to have all of that, and I got to do something really really cool. Uh, so my whole family, my direct family, dad and mom and everybody, most of them live in Tennessee. My parents live north of Nashville. My two brothers live in Cookeville, and then I have a sister who also lives in Nashville. And then my only other sibling lives in Colorado. She lives in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. So while my folks were out at my house towards the end of November, they were all talking with some of the other siblings about how they wanted to do a family get together, uh like around the week of the 16th of December. And I mean, obviously, I have all kinds of stuff going on at that time, and they knew that, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But they didn't. I wasn't really included in any of the conversation. I got on the phone with my sister who lives in Colorado, and we were kind of talking about it, and she was like, well, I think I'm actually going to fly out to Nashville and surprise everybody and drop in on family, you know, Christmas meal time and gift giving and all that. And so I got to thinking about it. I was like, well, how cool would it be if we both surprised him? So I drove out to Cookeville, which is where everybody was getting together. And uh, my parents were coming in later on that day. And then my two brothers were getting together with a friend, and they had like a coffee shop gig that they were going to play. So uh, I was there. My parents come over to my brother's house, and my mom was shocked. Like she had no. It's about a 7 hour drive, so it's like the last thing that anybody would expect somebody to do last second, right? But I didn't. The only reason I was able to really pull it off is because I didn't take the kids. That'd have been too hard on them to run out there for a day and take the kids. But anyway, I surprised my parents, but they didn't know that my sister was also coming in. And so we're all over at the coffee shop gig that my two brothers were playing. And my parents were there, and they were just having a big old time, and it was all exciting. And then my sister walked in, and she kind of did the whole thing where she stood there and waited to see if they recognized her. And I was like videoing the whole time because I was like, somebody's got to document this. And like, you could see my dad, he's like looking, and then he looks back at the music, and then he's looking, he looks back, and then his eyes kind of get real big, and he starts to stand up. And about that time is when my mom saw her. My mom didn't have just, recognized her right off the bat, but it was the first time in, I think we said like 26 or 27 years that my whole family had been together for a Christmas event, even though it wasn't like on the holiday itself. But like, my brother went into the Air Force when I was really young, and so he came back on leave a couple of times for the holidays, and that would have been the last time. And I was 5 years old, 6 years old whenever that happened. And then my family went on the road, and we didn't do a whole lot of holidays with him. And then he moved to Tennessee, but she's in Colorado. So it was a really cool moment for me to kind of spring something on my mom and my dad, and then have everybody there, and just to be together, and after so many years of having not done anything like that. So it was really cool.
That's fantastic. I love that story. That's a really great story. And now, unfortunately, we go to the opposite of that. If that was the best part of the past month, what was the worst part?
Well, you know that when you're diving into the holidays and crossing over into the new year, you might as well throw the schedule book out the window. And this also includes your kids, their habitual, nap times and meal times. And because it's a lot of running around, it's a lot of eating candy. Kids are off school for a little while, so that, they get out of Aiden really is the only one, but gets out of that rhythm, and he's like, I just want to play Minecraft all day, that kind of a thing. And it's like, hey, it's the holidays, I'm not going to worry about what it is that's going on. But um then all of that ends, and you have to find a way, like you said at the beginning of the thing. It's just, it gets it it gets darker earlier, and it's darker later into the morning, and trying to realign everybody's schedules and all of that is a huge challenge. And Stephanie and I, being always the overachiever that we are, we also had done some attempting to try to help potty train my daughter. over the course of the holidays because we were both home and on all this, and that turned out to just kind of be a fail because there was just too much going on. It was just too okay. Well, you got to hurry up. No, that don't work when you're trying to potty train because we got to go. Uh, but I mean, it's aside from that kind of stuff, it really hadn't been too tough. It's getting the kids back into the swing of things, getting myself back into the swing of things with work and all that. Luckily, I did do some prep stuff that made it easier to bounce back in after the off time. But even so, I was getting a little lazy there for a while. I was, sleeping in a little bit, and by sleeping in, I mean like 7:30. That's sleeping in for me. And I didn't go to the gym for 2 weeks. So when I went back to the gym, oh my gosh, it hurt. I got done with my workout, and my workout, if I start, from start to finish and I don't quit, it's about an hour and a half. Pretty intense workout. And I got about 3/4 of the way through and I said, I'm done. I'm done. I packed my stuff up. I grabbed my shower and I went home. I didn't have anything left in me to finish. But luckily, when I went back the next day, it was a lot easier because I got that one out of my system. But geez, it was tough.
Love it. I love it. All right, buddy. What was your best lead dad moment? As we go into month 9 here. What was your best lead dad moment?
Best lead dad moment. I mean, there is so much there again with the holidays, and you get to bask in the magic of the holidays. It's so I don't know. It is so much fun to be a part of that family that I had kind of missed. So I know there were several moments. My my son is taken up uh with a young lady at church that he's I don't know if he realizes how fond he is of her or how fond she is of him, but there's a little something there and it's really really cute. And so we went one there was one day when we went as a church group and we went caroling to several different shut-ins around the area who can't get out and all that. So I mean, we'd stand out on their front porch and sing songs for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'd drive to another home. We went to about 6 or 7 homes, and I drove separately because when we got done with the whole thing, we were going to be closer to my house than anybody else's, so I wanted to be able to just go straight home. So Aiden went with me, and we're driving around, and he's like, Dad, do you care if she rides with us? I was like, I don't care. It's fine. And so, we're driving down from one house to the other, and they're both sitting in the back seat and they're playing with toys and they're talking and all this stuff. And I don't know. I could just see him just kind of like basking in the company of this young lady, and it was a proud moment. He's being really sweet and he's being real attentive and all of this, and uh she's like she's a firecracker. She's something else. And she's such a sweet little girl too. But just that whole thing and riding my son around in the car and going doing all this, and it's like I got to do a father son thing, and where we were doing that, but then he brings along his friend, and so they've got their thing going on. It was really cool. Again, kind of when you're in the holidays, you look at it, it's like there's nothing better than stuff like that. It's so fun. I don't know where your young ladies are with this kind of a situation, but I know that with me, it was so much fun watching him and getting into all of that, and you know
It's just so sweet when they're that age too, and they have a
mm-hmm,
friend because when you get to be a teenager, they're not having dad drive them around and playing toys in the backseat. But every girl has had a beau, at age 4, 5, or 6, or something like that, and it's just endearing. Um,
It is because I mean, there's nothing weird about what's going on or anything, and honestly, it helps them develop that side of things and helps them understand a little bit more about why they feel what they feel. But they're so young that they're also, it's like, what do they have to talk about? Oh, well, here's a Star Wars
exactly.
action figure. There's so much innocence to it, and so you just sit there and watch. It's like, wow, that's crazy. But
It is.
but yeah, we had a lot of fun, and I will share this. So this would be kind of just a humorous dad moment. I told you that Stephanie and I, we were trying to take advantage of me having been home, try to encourage my little girl to use the potty and try to get her out of diapers. And things got so busy that it just wasn't very practical. And then we're looking at the calendar, and okay, well, we got the cruise coming up, so probably going to just hold off on things till after the cruise, because I don't know how that would turn out. It just sounds like a disaster. So obviously Aiden wanting to be involved in the process, and he's like trying to encourage her. He's like, I'll get you some candy, you just like, he's all up in it, which I'm glad, because some kids, it's like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. So Stephanie and I were sitting there on the couch, and we were just talking about it amongst each other. We weren't even talking to him. He was in the room, but we were just having a conversation with each other. Yeah, it's probably just wait till we get back from the cruise and all that, and then we'll start back, and by then maybe she'll be a little bit more, not as much going on then, and she'll be a little bit more encouraged to go for it. And so he just got up and he went into her room where she was playing. He said, Adeline, now listen, when we get back from the cruise, you are going to go in the potty. He like sat down and had the talk with her. And we just started dying laughing, because we weren't talking to him. We were just having a conversation. Obviously, he was listening. But he just goes in, he's like, now listen, when we get back from the cruise, you're gonna go in the potty. And it was so matter of fact. It was hilarious. But I was
I
beaming.
love that he's the potty police. I love this.
He's the moderator. So she's got a little bit of a temper, and we've been working through that. She's in those twos. And so, but she'll ask something. This is a hilarious scenario. She'll ask something, and I'll tell her no. And I don't mean, I don't even have to say it anyway. It's like, no, not right now. And she falls it to pieces over it, right? And she'll storm off into her room and throw herself down on her bed and just like start bawling. It's so dramatic. It's ridiculous. Um, so there are times when I'll go in there and I'll talk to her as like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And she ain't having it. So then I'll come out. Stephanie goes in there and she'll start talking to her. She ain't having it. And then Aiden be like, I'll talk to her. And he goes in there and he'd be like, Adeline, now look, that was a very ugly thing to do. And I need you to go out and apologize to mommy and daddy. And she'll listen. And she'll be like, okay. And she'll come out and she'll apologize. But it's like, he knows when the two of us have been and we try and she doesn't pay any heed to it. He'll just do that. All right, I'll go talk to her. And then he goes in there and he's so calm. Adeline, that was not nice. But she actually listens to him. So there's just something so sweet about all that too. It's just like, but definitely when it came to the potty training, he's like, look, when we get off the cruise, this is happening. you know it's great, and it's such a joy to observe.
I love it. I love it. All right. What then, with the potty police here, what has been the most challenging lead dad moment in the past month?
The I mean, so we've had obviously the shift in schedules, shift in attitudes of the holidays and all that stuff. Um, I think one of the hardest things though, and it's just comes with the territory of being a lead dad or just a parent in general, is when you get into the holidays. Obviously, one of the things that is really big is tradition and memories. That's two big things. And when you start diving into some of the memories and you start diving into what's going on, you start to realize how quickly your kids are growing up. I told you that 6 and 2 are an amazing, magical time. But sitting there and watching your 6 year old and your 2 year old realizing that it's not going to be very long before, he's 10 and she's 6. And he'll be phasing into different portions of life. She'll be about probably where he is now, but you know how older siblings influence the younger siblings too. And so, not to say that I like just focused on all of that, because I'm very much about basking in the moment and what's going on there. But it's weird when you realize that the the kids are growing faster. I mean, we were looking at videos of his first Christmas. He was born in November, so he's like barely a month old in some of his first Christmas pictures. And it's like, wow, how in the world are we here where he's helping my daughter potty train and reprimanding her for her attitude. Proud, most certainly proud, but just looking at that, and it really makes you appreciate it. It has definitely made me appreciate this Christmas, and I pray for Christmases to come, where I can be as hands-on and as present as I was now, because I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel like I'd thrown a lot of time out the window. Um, and you know what? Even if I'd have been home, maybe I'd have felt the same way. I'm not sure, because I don't know that situation. But looking at where my priorities and what had me pulled away from home for the last 6 years of parenting life over the holidays, I looked back at it and I was like, okay, I see this video, I see this picture, and I think that was the only picture I was in, or that was the only video clip I was in, because I just uh, I wasn't here. And so yeah, I mean it kind of tugged a little bit. But it also kind of gave me that motivation too. It's like, hey, as long as I stay on track with what's going on, it's only going to get better from here too. There's the upside to all of that. Um, but it also it kind of it subsided some of the frustration or some of the issues of all the schedule issues and all of the dealing with sugar high crashes and all of that, because it's like, okay, yeah, this is aggravating in the moment, but it's just in the moment. What I'm pulling from this is to last a lot longer than that. And it created a little endurance there. So yeah, that was a tough one though.
Does that fall into the lessons learned? Our last question. I mean, it's pretty powerful about not savoring all that time. We say it all the time, we hear it all the time, but to actually do it is tough. Or I mean, is that one of your lessons that were learned in the past one?
Definitely one of the lessons learned. I think all in all, the I correlate, I talk about packed schedule, right? So packed schedule prior to this year looked like me being gone constantly. And even if I wasn't physically gone from this place, I was mentally and emotionally somewhere else dealing with somebody else's stuff or some other thing. Uh, so I was not present. Uh, Coming into this year, there was a lot more community involvement, obviously, extracurricular activities, bouncing around from family members' houses to houses. So it was a packed schedule, but in a different way. And I think, a huge takeaway is just who you're doing it with and how you're doing it is what makes the difference. Um, I did learn a really hard lesson on Christmas Day. Don't fly a drone in the wind. It's so funny. Christmas morning, we're at Stephanie's parents' house, and they got me a little drone, a remote control drone. And I literally said, when I opened it, I got so excited. I said, I'm 34. I don't get toys anymore. This is exciting. While they were making breakfast, I took it outside and I cranked it up, and the wind got hold of it, and the remote control, it got out of range of the remote control about 10 minutes after I'd started flying it, and I never saw it again. I drove around the neighborhood looking for it. I drove in a neighboring neighborhood. I was using my compass to try to figure out, okay, the wind is blowing this way. If I go into this other neighborhood and and looking in all the yards, Aiden went with me and he's looking in all the yards, and we're just like, where is it? I never saw it. So we make jokes every once in a while. I'll see like a plane flying or something like that. It's like, hey, I think that might be my drone. It's still flying. It's still up there. But the wind, it wasn't even that windy, but it was just enough to pull it far enough away to where, and I couldn't, when it wasn't like some high tech thing. It was a fun thing, and it had like a little camera on it. But like the motors weren't powerful enough to fight the slight breeze that it was caught in, and it just kept getting further and further away, and eventually I had no control over it at all, and then it disappeared over the treetops. So I learned that lesson, and I think my father-in-law learned the lesson: don't buy Skip toys for Christmas. Because yeah, I said that when I came back from looking for it. I said, well, I guess that's why I never get toys, because I break them or I lose them in a matter of minutes. Soft lesson learned. But yeah,
That's
overall,
good. I mean, that's the lesson. That's what we ended there, man.
it's
We have so many
beautiful.
serious things. Like people will remember that, Skip. You just say, "Don't fly a drone in the wind." That's
Don't
it.
fly a drone in the wind. Yeah, that should be on a t-shirt or a coffee mug.
Or a hat, because it would remind you. You'd look up on a windy day if your hat started to blow off. You're like, "Oh wait, don't fly my drone."
Yeah, better.
Skip Cherry
Oh
Holmes,
my gosh.
month 9 of Lead Dad Diaries. Always wonderful. And for the listeners at home, remember, don't fly a drone in the wind. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Hey, next time I see you, I'm gonna be nice and tan, okay?
We know what we're gonna talk about next time. We know.